Oh, snap. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 I'll drink that. I am eating petite vanilla scones. I am eating them because 1, they are delicious. 2, they are delicious. And 3, because I feel like they're a non-threatening food that says, this guy didn't mean anything bad. This guy's heart was in the right place. When he posted that video, he was eating petite vanilla bean scones. Attached is the video of a year ago sitting down with my biological brother, who I had never met before, and just getting his perspective on like what it was like being raised without a father, what it was like going through life, knowing that there was like a sperm donor out there that like never stuck around, and his perspective on like whether it was perpetuating the stereotype of just being like, I grew up without a dad, so I had to find that kind of family and that kind of belonging somewhere else, and then just kind of ending the cycle of just being like, okay, let's get some answers, like what was it like and how did you feel going through this kind of stuff? Because not a lot of people, like, I mean, a lot of people live through this kind of stuff, but not a lot of people get a revelation of like, this is what really happened, this is how things went down, whether you like it or not, like, this is what happened. And you don't have to just spend countless years like wondering and hoping like what if. So it was really great to sit down with him, and I felt like on the anniversary of such things, like it would be good to actually include that and give other people the perspective, and not only to validate where I was coming from and what my journey is going through, but to validate D'Angelo and where he's been and what he's been going through, and to just be like, hey, you're not alone in this, and your voice is heard as well. So attached is the next hour of an interview. I wanted it to be a raw interview, so I didn't edit it because it would be weird if it was jumping around a lot, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just kept it as is. I wanted to keep it as real as it was sitting there with a biological sibling for the first time, and also to include the kindness of my friend Ben, because Ben helped me record the whole thing, and I was really glad that I got to go to Alaska with him and Macy, and yeah, you can just hear like the kindness in his voice of just like how helpful he wants to be and how good of a friend he actually is. In the interest of like running out of batteries and running out of storage space, kind of ran out of footage at the end, so I had to just kind of throw in some B-roll stuff in there, but I wanted to make sure that the message got across. So if you have time, I highly recommend you stick around. It's a pretty cool interview, and I have a pretty cool brother, so just let me know what you think. And I'm gonna eat these stones because golly, are they good? Are we ready? Oh my god. Oh snap. What's up, bro? Who's this guy? Yeah, bro. Good to meet you. Yeah, you too, bro. I'm Michael. Michael, nice to meet you, man. You set my coat. Yes, sir. We're set up and ready to rock and roll. All right, man. Sorry we made you wait so long. No, it's all good. We can get it set up. Like, look at my tweets.
We almost.
I feel like we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
So what's up,
Man, I just wanted to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, I was, this has just been a big trip for,
Yeah.
this is my friend Ben. This is D'Angelo.
Ben.
Hey, Dan.
Nice to meet you,
How you
man.
doing, man?
Yeah, bro.
Ben's like, we've made projects in Fairbanks, and we've made he's made projects down here.
All right.
And I was like, I can't do this project without like the best guy
Mm-hmm.
I know. So,
Gotta get him.
so I was like, dude, can we go to Alaska for a couple days and
Right.
just knock this out and see where this story goes?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
I ultimately just started off with like biological parents.
Right.
So then I was like, I knew I was in foster care. I knew the story, but then I spent so long just being like, you know what, I'm just going to put it to the side and I'm going to be successful, all things considered.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was down in the States. How old are you?
23.
23? Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was 24, 25 when I got down there. And I was like, maybe it's selfish of me not to like know the full story or understand the full story, and just like because it was like it's easy for me, like they hurt me when I was younger, I'm not talking to them ever again. So then it wasn't until I was down in Texas when I was just like, you know what, maybe I'll hear them out,
see what's up,
see what's going on. Yeah, so I reached out to my biological mother because like she was like trying to contact me, but then I was also trying to go through college too, and I was like, I don't have time to have
a lot going on.
but I got adopted when I was 8, so it was like I don't have time to entertain a biological parent who all of a sudden wants to be in my life.
Understandable.
So then I waited until I was like 26 to be like, okay, I'll talk to you.
Right.
And then I was withholding like talking to a biological father. Like I still have scars on my body. It was just like I'm not anxious to Facebook search him and reach out for that on that kind of thing. So I just put it off. And then I was like, I think he's still in Alaska.
Yeah.
Their only way to know is to actually show up and see what happens. So I brought us up here.
And now you're here, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, how'd that go for you yesterday?
It was like we landed on Friday and went up to his office just because I didn't have any contact information for him before.
Right.
And he signed his rights away as a parent when he was in jail in like 94.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's not gonna try to contact me. So I was like, let me just show up. So he was remoting in from home, and somebody from his office actually like called him up and was like, I have a special call that you should probably take.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, I'm your biological son, let's do this. So then we met up at Safeway.
Right.
And from Safeway, that's when things got a little pretty intense of just being like, he's like, well, here's what happened, and if I never see your mom again, it will be too soon. And is it sinking on you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you see that?
Pretty squishy chairs.
Yeah, do the bar.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
He's like, yeah, if I never see your biological mother again, it'll be too soon, and it was just like, it got really intense, and he got pretty defensive, like, I don't know, he was just like, and that's all I have to say about that. Next question. And like he was trying to get through it like an interrogation almost.
Was it like he wasn't trying to answer, right?
A little, yeah.
Like pack any other baggage.
Like, right. So then he's like, I was like, how are you? And he's like, I was angry. And I was like, okay. What's that mean? Like angry. Elaborate on that. And he wasn't trying to do it.
Yeah.
So that was the day one initially, and then I was like, all right, let's meet up tomorrow. Right now this is like day one shock. So
right.
I'll let you process this, and then let's meet back up tomorrow, Saturday. And then I called him up at noon, and I was like, hey, can we grab some coffee and just talk? And he's like, actually, I did a little bit of research on you, and it doesn't feel like you were genuine with, how you wanted to meet me and come up here and see me and stuff. And I'm like, I'm assuming that he just found my Facebook page with my movie trailer, and I'm like, I'm working on a project. Is that like a problem? And I asked him.
For your life, bro.
Right?
Like that's. How could somebody just miss that?
Right. And I told him, I wasn't going to tell him that at Safeway because it's like, I showed up out of nowhere and I wanted to use you in my documentary. It was like, I told him that, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. Are you interested in like having a microphone, having a camera? Is that okay? And he's like, well, I'm a very private person, so I'm going to have to, I'll answer your questions and I'll sit down and I'll talk with you, but
no cameras, no mics.
No cameras, no microphones. I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, like, at least I'll know.
For yourself.
For myself. So it's like, then I can reflect on that and just kind of like use that as a monologue of just being like, I did a voiceover and here's everything he said to me.
Right.
And then from there he was just like, no, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that. If you wanted your handshake, you got your handshake. Our conversation at Safeway is just that's going to be what you're going to get. So you can take your state records and you can take your mom's opinion, and from there you can draw your own conclusions. But I'm just going to go ahead and wish you the best, and I think we're going to go ahead and call it good from here. So then I was like, okay, like if that's where you want to leave it after 25 years, like this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So then that's when I was like, biological siblings, so that's a good backup option to be
right.
Because it boils down to where did I come from, how did I get here? So it's biological parents. But then I'm like, if this guy slams a door in my face, then I gotta have somebody to reach out to that maybe doesn't know about me.
Exactly.
So that's when I looked you guys up, and Rachel was a conduit for that, where it's just like, hey, I can't reach out to this person directly, but if it comes from somebody that they know, then maybe they'd be more receptive.
Bro,
to like.
It blew my mind so bad because like that connection right there is just like the way that happened is just so it's coincidental to me. Like it's just ironic. It's just super crazy because the only way she knows me is through this girl that I started dating like in middle school or whatever. So we've known each other for years, and that's the only way that she knew me. So it's like I don't know, like everything happens for a reason, right? So it's like because if she didn't know me, there would have been no other way. I mean, unless you reached out to me by yourself, looking up
and then you'd be
Patton and being like, all right, I'm gonna ask all these people.
It was like I'm your brother, and you're just like, yeah, cool, good, sure, my brother.
Nah, I mean to be honest, man, I've always wondered that part, but you know what I'm saying. Just like you said, it's like. I don't know. It's like when you're younger, it registers like, yeah, all right, dad wasn't around, but my mom was always there. I had my grandma, and you know, so it's like she shed light on some of this stuff, but it was like I feel like I had so much stronger pull towards just doing what I wanted to do in life that it was almost like you said, I put blinders on. It was just like it's not affecting me right now.
Exactly.
We're already here, like you said. You've done successful things. I'm doing what I'm doing, so it was just almost like. I don't care, but like you said in the end, like it could be selfish, but.
So I mean, like, what happened? Like, you were born here. Like, how was your upbringing? Like, to get to here.
So pretty much, I sat my mom down last night because she's never withheld any information from me. She's always answered like my questions, but I never really was the person to ask a whole bunch of questions. So there's been times where I was like younger and upset, like, yo. I guess like like where's my dad or something like that. So and she's like he just left, and my grandma told me that he was been in jail and stuff back in the day and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just feel like it was like almost like a movie type thing where it's like you're just a young kid, man, you're gonna cry, you're gonna have your moments, but as life goes on, it's almost like a shield that you build, man. It's just like it's just not there. So I don't know how to explain it, but I was born here, man. I was born here. My mom gave me a bit of the backstory last night.
Were they together and then they got divorced or separated, or like he was never there ever?
So how it was is my mom said that she did find out about you, but it was through my grandmother because she had pulled court documents on him because my grandmother knew that she was going to Palmer just to go see him while he was in jail and stuff like that, and she didn't like that because it was like dead winter, his 2 kids in the car. So I don't know how my grandma started to dig into it, but she dug into it, and I think she just felt like he was lying about certain things, and it looks like he was because. So when my mom and them got together, Michael, whatever, I guess they were together at the time. She did say that he did bring another baby girl around at the time, and I believe that was his wife. She said that it was his wife, but he had told her that it was his ex-wife, and they're just co-parenting. So my mom was like, okay, that's whatever. But I guess, in the end, I guess he was technically still married at the time. And, my mom had just so happened to get pregnant with me. And that's just really how that happened. So.
When were you born?
95.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom kept me, and, I guess she was trying to make him a part of my life and stuff like that. But with how his road was leading, I don't think it just wasn't going to happen. And then, like, the information that my grandma was giving my mom, she was, like, happy that she was like, okay, well, I'm happy that it ended up this way because it could have ended up, in a worse situation and stuff like that. But my upbringing, my mom was definitely took care of me, and my grandmother.
You graduated service? Graduated from service?
Graduated from service, yeah.
You do UAA?
No, I haven't done any college stuff yet.
What are you working on? What are you chasing right now?
I mean, I work. My line of work is I work at the Native Hospital as a front desk agent, but that's just to keep it going. But I do music, man.
Nice.
I do lots of music, do videos and stuff like that. I would say I'm the I would say I'm a nowadays like on the ground SoundCloud rapper. Just trying to do it. I mean, that's really my passion, and that's another thing is that I had such a strong pull towards music and stuff like that, just to it almost blocked out that part. Like, that overshadowed that part of my life. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm so focused on music that that's all I want to do. You know what I mean? So a lot of the past facts, obviously, I feel like one day I would find out. I just didn't know it would be yesterday, Saturday night, sitting at home with the family, just hanging out, like.
And then all of a sudden you just like start having these conversations. Like 10 minutes ago we were watching Jeopardy. Now all of a sudden, go ahead and tell me what happened back in '97.
Yeah, for real. So it really just came out of nowhere. But my mom did say she did find out that, because he was telling my mom that I was his first son, but obviously that wasn't true. So she found that out through my grandma, because she had went and pulled those documents and found out about the abuse and stuff that was going on with you. So she had relayed that information to my mom and stuff like that. But my mom was blinded because he wasn't telling her the truth. Did
they stay together while he was in jail? And she was
tried to. That's why she was visiting and stuff like that. But eventually the lies kept unraveling, because I guess at first, when he had first went away or went to jail, he had told my mom, like, oh, I'm in this, like, I don't know, jury duty thing or something like that, and he was trying to cover it up. And this is just the story that I'm not 100% sure on the facts, but this is my story that I'm saying. Right. So, she just said that he tried to cover it up at first, and then after so long, he was just like, okay, I'm in jail. He told my mom the reason that he was in jail is because he beat some dude up that was sleeping with his wife or something like that. I don't know what had happened.
And then how the lie unraveled? Like, did she like fact check him, or?
That's when I think my grandma started to dig into the information. Was when my mom just wasn't sure and was telling, because obviously my grandma was there witnessing, my mom being with him and stuff like that, and then being pregnant. She was just kind of curious on, what was going on and stuff like that. So when she, obviously my mom can't hide, like, oh, where is he at? If my grandmother's asking all the time, where is he at? Where is he at? I don't know. She never gave me a timeline if it was like a few months before my grandma started digging, but after a while she started to like look into the information and pull his stuff, and that's when she found out like the truth pretty much. And she told my mom, and I think at that time, like, that's when it pretty much split apart. Was, after most of that information was relayed, she, we talked about a lot of things last night. She just never really said a certain time and like certain day when she was just like, okay, I'm done. It was more of just like a broad, like, I'm not sure when it ended. She doesn't, It
just faded out.
It just faded out, and that's just how it was, And then yesterday when I told you about when I met him when I was like 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, what happened there?
My mom was just surfing some like random dating website, and she had popped up on his picture, and she was just like astounded. She was like, whoa. And then she like told me to come here, and she's like, pretty much just told me that this is your dad right here. And I was like, whoa.
You shook his hand? Were you happy to see him? Or
well, I mean, that was, at first she just found him on the computer. And
sorry, I'm so sorry. We got a red Lincoln battery. This battery's about to die.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good conversation. I'm loving this.
Grab the.
It's really nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too, man.
We can also flip sides. Here's enough footage. As good of a face as you got, man. Solid. Let's go. We're rolling.
You want to hit that other one too, just in case?
Yeah.
Word. So it started as like a dating thing, and then was like.
The way that it appears to me in our day and time, it seemed like he was probably with, I'm not sure, he was with another woman, married or something. And
was that Renee?
I'm not sure. I was never given any names. She doesn't even really remember the name, but she said that he had claimed that was his ex-wife, and that they were just co-parenting with the other little girl. So I believe we do have other siblings out here, for sure. And the funny thing is, she was like, I don't know if it was Michaela or Micah, and then that was before the fact you had sent me the text, like, oh, there's a Micah hat in here. And she was like, okay. So I know like, it's been a long time for my mom. So, talking about it jogged certain memories for her. So for her to bring that up is just a little bit crazy too.
So then after seeing the dating profile thing, then they were like, let's meet at McDonald's or something? Like,
yeah, so they contacted each other, and, or actually he contacted her, I believe is what she said. And, he was like, he's interested in meeting me. And, my mom was like, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna make the decision for him, or I'm not gonna take the decision away. So she asked me, do you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah. It wasn't like a, oh my God, let's go meet him type thing. I was just like receptive. I'm good. Like, yeah, like let's go see what's up. Like I didn't at the time. I'm not. I'm younger, so I'm not like I'm gonna have some questions for him. I'm just like, hi. That type of thing. When you're that young, I don't know what to say. I just want to meet who it is.
Right.
And someone that someone's always supposed to have growing up as a dad. I never had one, so it's like to meet someone that is like really your dad is like, okay, I don't know what to think at first. I have to, I'm a person that has to like let something sink in and then process, and then I can come up with answers and stuff like that. But at the time, it was just like we met up at the Diamond Mall, and it was just upon approach, it was just like hey, and he was like, yo, you're my son and stuff like that, and was like, okay. And hugged and stuff like that, just simple things like that. It was a long time ago for me, so I can't really recall like really what we talked about. I think he just asked me like what I like doing and stuff like that. But other than that, man, really at the end of the conversation, he was like talking to my mom like, here's my number, he can contact me and stuff like that. And he was telling me the same thing and blah blah blah. But at some point in time, I don't know if he got his number changed or something like that, but that ship sailed after that. After the number changed, that was it. She lost contact with him, and that was it. And I haven't seen him since that day.
That was the last. Like, did you try to reach out to him again? Or just like, well, I got his number. Like, maybe he'll want to go to this Ice Dogs game or something. Like, did you? No. You never like that thought process never came up to be like, well, it's almost Christmas time. Maybe we should call that guy that we call my dad.
Well, we did try, but the number that he had given us
like
was
quick?
Gone.
Like,
I'm not sure how long it was. It was quick.
Dang.
Because if it was over a month or like a couple years out of the time, I feel like we definitely would have linked up at some point.
But then like a couple months later,
it was like within like probably like a couple months. Cause initially it's not like, oh, I'm gonna get his number like, all right, the next day, like, hey, can we come hang out? Right. So like I said, I gotta let it sit, see how it goes, and just went for a few weeks and stuff like that. I can't really remember if I ever tried to like reach out like, let's go hang out. It was more like the number's gone. So
it just like was this weird thing that came and went, and you're just like,
came and went, and that was it. And that was besides that, the only time I ever kind of quote unquote seen him, I guess, was when I was a child.
Right.
Visiting him at jail or wherever he was at.
How'd you feel? Like, were you like, didn't need him then, don't need him now, or like, was it just kind of like always that gaping hole of just being like, well, like growing up, like,
just growing up,
like in general, were you just kind of like, oh, I don't have a dad, man, wherever that guy's at, forget about him, or like, were you like, I wish this guy would show up, or I wish somebody would be here? Like, how do you feel with that?
In a deep way, it does hurt, but at the same time, I had a lot of older role models around me that are still around today that definitely I look up to in that certain type of way, and not even like, oh, they were all father figures. I just had a lot of people that was just around me. It almost like just over cluttered that feeling of being hurt by something else. It's like, yo, one person's gone, but you have all these other people that love you,
good
family and stuff like that, and just friends that became family. I've had friends now that know me since I was that age, like young and stuff like that. When my mom had got with my other brother and sister's dad and stuff like that, we met when we were like that age, and they're still here now. You know what I'm saying? And they have lots of other brothers and stuff like that. So,
do you have siblings?
I do.
How many?
I have an older sister. Her name's Christina. And then I have a younger brother and a younger sister. The two youngest, they had the same dad. My older sister, me and her have different dads. Yeah.
So then the two younger ones have the same dad as us?
Yeah. No, not as us. Just themselves.
So you're standalone, they're standalones,
and then my older sister. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, man, that's really just my family as of right now, and plus my grandma, like, because besides now, that's all it's been. It's just my mom, my siblings, and my grandma. That's it.
And then you didn't think to look up another Hatton, like, in Anchorage?
I've tried. I tried to look up, because I only know his name. I only know Michael Hatton. I tried to look up those names and, like, try to look for a familiar face or whatever, but nothing ever really came up. And I was like, is he even in Anchorage? Is he in Alaska? Is he, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like when you search on certain things, it just like searches local areas and stuff. Obviously, it does the whole spread, but I was like scrolling through like pages of Michael Hads. I'm like, where's, you know, does anybody look like this dude? Because the only other time I've seen him was in person at that other time years ago. Yeah, and I can't really remember, besides when my mom showed me that picture yesterday. I was just like, dang, like I haven't seen what this dude looks like in years. Right. So, but I had tried, man. I was like, I thought about the same thing. I was like, I feel like I have siblings somewhere, but just don't know who, where to start. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I don't know. It was just that type of thing. You know, you just kind of just keep going. Yeah. But like I said, I always felt like there was a certain time in my life where I was going to learn information and stuff like that. And I guess it just took me by surprise, and it's now. So,
I mean, there's never going to be like, only in the month of July can you do like these. It's just kind of like, well, I figured we might as well just make it happen now. Like, of just being like, because it did start off as like a journey of like, I just want to see what this person has to say. And I originally came at it with like, there's no judgment. There's no like, there's nothing being held back. There's no police. Like, I just want to hear it from you. Like, just talk to me. Can you have a civil conversation with me? And like, this person wasn't having it. Like, didn't want to talk to me. Didn't want to sit down with me. And I was like, okay, well, there's got to be some siblings out here. So that's why I was like, well, I was like, yeah, if I'm out here already, might as well. Like, maybe they feel like they were left alone or something. But yeah, it was weird just being like, talking to this guy at Safeway, and he's like, yeah, I didn't have foster care. I mean, I didn't have any child care, so I had to go to work, and I just left you at home by yourself in the bedroom. But like, he brought that up and then breezed back over it. Like, it was no big deal. Like, like, there's no remorse. There's no like apology for leaving me alone. Like when I'm 3 years old. Right. So it was weird. Like, okay. Yeah. But I didn't want that whole negative vibe just to ruin a trip. So I was like, if I have a brother out there, does he know about me? And it's weird because then like, if it turned, I was like, okay, so do you know Michaela? Or just like I've never heard that name before. Or you're just like, what? Like each like, if it is a baby daddy situation, I was like, well, each thing is like isolated and separated, and nobody knows about the other one. Yeah. Yet, like everybody's living in like a 400-mile radius of each other. You know what I mean?
And we don't even know.
Yeah. So I was like, this is too crazy.
I feel it. Like what? I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. Do you have like questions for me? Like what?
I don't know. Like, how do you feel? Like, are you like, are you good at basketball?
I'll run it. You know what I'm saying? But my passion is more music.
Music. Gotcha. Yeah. So you weren't like playing sports at service or anything?
I mean, I ran track and stuff like that, but I didn't do no sports.
Gotcha.
Music is definitely the big puller. So.
Very cool. Was there? I mean, were you ever like? I don't know. Like, did you had siblings, but then it turned into like, I feel like something's missing, or like, were they close with their dad, and then you weren't close with your dad, so then it turned into this weird disconnect, or was it everybody was a unit and?
I feel like my mom was put through like repeat situations because we're all kind of like the same, except for my older sister. She talks to her dad, and they're good. You know what I mean? Because that was my mom's first child and first baby father or whatever. So, you know, somehow they kept things together, and they co-parented for years, and they're still cool to this very day. Right. But you know, with me and then my two younger siblings, I feel like it was just situations where just legal things got involved. My younger brother and sister, their dad, he got into some legal stuff, you know, involving my older sister. How do you say it?
You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, I mean, no, I feel it, but you know, I definitely just want to give you information about, you know, my side, because I don't know anything about your side. I know. Too. It's just super crazy.
It's like, from the biological standpoint, where it was weird was like, none of us knew about each other, but then it also, like, what I'm finding out last night was like, this guy called me up and he was heated that I was like reaching out to siblings, and like, I think he was kind of building this wall of lies up, and then me showing up and just kind of being like, hey, how's it going? I exist and I'm real.
He didn't want that wall to come down.
He didn't want that wall to come down. So now, like, I talked to Michaela, and she's like, I talked to Micah, and then Micah talked to him, so now he knows that, like, things are happening. So he called me back up, and he was just like, stay away from my family. And I'm like, stay away from your family. I'm like, I'm reaching out to grown adults. Like, if we happen to share, like, the same bloodline, and, like, that bloodline is upset or something, I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is another adult. And if we have the same father and the same questions, it's like, we deserve to meet up. If you don't want to talk, if he doesn't want to talk to me, that's fine. But, like, denying that, like, you can talk to me or, like, they can talk to me, and it's like, how big are you? First off, how big is your wall of lies? Second off, how big is your circle of control that you're just like, don't talk to my daughters who are adults and also in college? And I'm like, you can't control everybody. Like, and I mean, if you wanted to try to keep that circle smaller, then maybe you shouldn't have just gone out with random girl, random girl, and it's just like you can control, like, how many kids you have on this planet. Like, it's not like an accident of just like, man, I don't even know how many I got floating out there. Hope they're okay though. But
and not care. And that was definitely one thing that hurt, was just feeling like I felt like he felt like I just doesn't exist. Like, I'm not a thought in his mind. You know what I mean? It's like, being who I am and how I was raised and, like, how my mom brought me up and stuff, it's like I would never be able to do that to anybody. No. Like, my mom gave me, my mom and my grandmother, I feel like they definitely gave me a very core compass just to, do the right thing and stuff like that. So I just feel like I can never do that. You know what I'm saying? How can you just act like somebody doesn't exist? How can he act like you and I don't exist and not even care? That's just like, it's just crazy.
It was weird because he didn't want to acknowledge either of us. But then as soon as I started reaching out to the girls, then he's like, stay away from my family. And it seemed like he was trying to build, like, a roster of, like, pick and choose. And he's like, okay, this is my son. But, I mean, they're not part of the family.
Right.
And then he starts coming out of the woodwork with, like, you don't have any siblings as far as I'm concerned. You don't have, not from my side. Nope. So stay away from my family and blah, blah. Like, I was like, this guy's unbelievable. Like, picking and choosing, like, if you don't want to have a lot of children, that's on you, but you did, so. And
you can't act like they don't exist. We don't exist. I can't say they. It's us.
Yeah. So it's definitely been weird. Like, my whole timeline was just, both parents were married in, like, 88 or 89.
Right.
Military brought him up here. I was born in 89 at Providence. What hospital are you at?
I was born at the Alaska Native Hospital. My mom was Sprinkle Natives.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born, and then then they were just like, because he told me at Safeway too, he's like, all we did was fuss and fight all the time. That's all we did. I was like, okay, I respect that. Of just, like, maybe some marriages don't work out.
Of course.
And then it turned into a divorce situation with, like, custody. It was like during the week, during the weekends. And then it just got into this back and forth battle of, like, hey, you need to return him. No, I'm not returning him. Apparently there's a point when, like, my mom dropped me off and was supposed to pick me up on Monday. She showed up and was at the same house that she dropped me off at, and then, like, he had moved houses and was like, I'm keeping him. Don't come look for me. But then by that time, like, I guess my mom was on drugs, so then it's hard for her to get the police involved because it's like, help me find my child. It's like, are you a fit parent?
Yeah.
And it's like, which one do you want? Like, do you want us to find your child, or do you want to get off drugs? And, like, so it was just like this stalemate of, like, she can't look for me and he's not giving me back, so but then it turned into, like, well, he can't find childcare, so he left me home by myself. Okay, well, he says that, like, I'm getting completely worked up, so he's like, well, I need to start putting whippings on him. But I'm, like, 3 years old, walking around with, like, belt loop markings on me. So then he couldn't find childcare still, left me at home again. And then he's surprised when the police knock on the door. I let him in.
Of course.
I'm home by myself. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up? You looking for him? He'll be home.
Yeah.
I don't know, 2 episodes of Rugrats or something. But it's just one of those things of, like, so you don't, especially in, like, 94, it's like you don't see anything wrong with this. And I felt like there was animosity built up towards me of just being like, why'd you let the police in? Why do you crumble this down? Because I have, like, recordings of me going to, like, a behavioral psychologist being like, do you want to go back with your dad? And it's like, no, because he's gonna be pissed. Like, this is, and if I thought the whoopings before were bad, then it's like, you wait until, like, yeah, by the way, sorry for you going to jail and stuff, and let's go home now. Yeah. But just all the circumstances surrounding that was just like, neither parent is fit. Put him into foster care, and then I got adopted at 8. And then like from that foundation, especially being up here in Alaska, it was just like, I want to be normal. I don't want to be a foster kid. I don't want to be a statistic. It's just kind of like, just let me be successful despite like I'm adopted into a white family. So then I already stand out as it is. So standing out like foster kid and being like the whitest black people, like person people knew, then it was just kind of like, thanks for that past. Like, what? And then I'd just be like, what would it be like if I was still like with people of color or with the people that raised me, and then I'm having to do this whole like I'm adopted and forget about everywhere I came from. So it was tough just being like, I have to be normal and I have to forget about my past, and I don't know, it was just like one of those, I didn't necessarily like lay at bed being like, why me? But then it was also a side of me is kind of like, how did it get here? Yeah, that's why I started telling the story of just being like future wife, future kids, and they're just kind of like, so do you know, especially like, I mean, for the simple stuff of like, is your family prone to seizures or something? Yeah. And then I always thought about it. It's just like, too. I don't know. Like, I hope not.
I've had to answer those questions already. They'll ask me at the hospital. I'm like, just my mom's side, no, nothing on that side.
Right? It's like 50-50. That ain't bad.
That's the flip of a coin.
I go through the placebo thing, and it was just like, I don't think so, but as long as I don't think about heart disease, I don't think I'm going to catch it. So I'm going to keep that out of sight, out of mind. It's like, well, I think I'm good, so we don't need to do the whole DNA check or something.
For sure. It definitely seems like he's here. Here's his wall. He likes to come out every once in a while, and whatever's on this wall, on the other side of the wall is what he's protecting, but whatever's trying to get back in is like, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, all right, well, you made those decisions, like you said. It's like, if you had some type of life agenda that you were building, but you were doing shit on the side, that's your fault.
Right. And I felt like it was, first off, he's picking and choosing on who to let into his circle. Right. And maybe he did sign the rights away to me or you, and like, he was like, okay, I signed my rights away. I'll never try to contact him again. Right. But still, like, even if you're building a new unit, like, be honest with that unit. Yeah. But it felt, there's nothing wrong with it. It feels like he's just juggling back and forth of just being like, I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you. I'll tell them. But even like Michaela and Micah were just kind of like, he has a criminal record?
Are they sisters?
Yeah. And he's like, they didn't know that he was incarcerated. But then, like, they knew that there were gaps in his story that were just kind of like, so what was happening before this? Right. And he's like, well, it's just always been this, and that's all you need to know. But I forward the Alaska court view system where it's just kind of like, here he is in the system. His birthday's June 28th. He's the only one in here. And he's mostly getting pulled over for like tinted windows and like domestic violence stuff. But it's like, this guy has been up here, like, doing stuff. Like, and it's weird that if you're going to try to change your life and be better, like, at least tell people in your past where you're just kind of, I mean, at least tell people currently where it's like, hey, a lot of stuff went down in my past.
Unravel that baggage.
I know, just do it yourself. Yeah. They just be like, a lot of stuff went down in my past. I didn't know what was going on back then. It was crazy. So if something happens in the future of just being like, who is this? And it was like, it could be a biological brother or sister or something, but don't be shocked by it because back then I was wild. Like, okay, then tell me
Own
that.
It.
But it seems like he was just like,
he didn't want them to know.
He was trying to put on blinders too, just being like, if I don't talk about them, then they won't real. And I almost was at that point to be just like, well, he signed his rights away to me. He abused me when I was with him. Right. I'll go my way. He'll go his way. And I mean, hopefully he'll work it out. But then I was like,
it needs to be a conversation.
It needs to be a conversation, especially the full picture too, of just being like, tell him, future wife, future kids. It's like, I don't know. I didn't want to disturb his nice life, so I just let him do his own thing. Right. I was like, no, I knocked on the door real quick just to see, like, hey, I'm real. Right. But me, like, coming out of the, like, coming up here in general is just kind of like, so everybody at your work just saw me. How are you going to explain that? Right. I'm reaching out to biological siblings that know that I'm real, and they're just like, you look just like him. Right. And it was just like, yeah, so how are you going to explain your way out of that one, too? Like, good luck. I didn't mean to, like, disrupt your entire path. I just want to have a sincere conversation. If you're a sincere person, then all of this stuff in the past shouldn't be, like, back to haunt you or anything. It should just be like, see what I told you about back then? it's happening now. So I'm gonna have a conversation with this biological son or blah blah blah. It's like, but that didn't happen. So
it's definitely
it's crumbling.
A messed up thing to just think that you can do all these things and then, you know, act like someone doesn't exist, but, you know, know in the back of your head that someday someone like you is going to come knocking on that door to ask these questions that we deserve to have answers to just as human beings, you know, as well as being somebody's biological son. You know, if we're left alone or if they're not there in our life, I feel like, you know, we have the right to ask the one question, like, why?
Right.
You know, so that's definitely always been my one thing, but at the same time, it's like I don't even know what I would say if I saw him.
That's but I mean, like, just
I don't even know.
Having that conversation, like, that's all I wanted, was just kind of like, there's openness and honesty. Like, just talk to me in your own time, in your own words. Just tell me what's going on. But it's just closed up quick. But and the conversation that we had at Safeway too, like, it felt like it just, maybe that's just so ingrained into his personality that, like, if he doesn't want to answer something, he's not going to answer something. And if he doesn't want to take blame or responsibility, he's never going to take blame or responsibility. Like, even 20 years after the fact, he's just like, I left you alone. We didn't have childcare.
Straight face.
That's it. What else do you want to know? And I'm like, you don't feel bad about that? Or you don't want to just address that? Like, maybe you were in the wrong of, like, I should have found you a babysitter. We had family. We had friends. Like, it's like, okay, like, you don't want to talk about any of that. So it's just been really wild to see, like, what this guy cares about and what he doesn't care about. Especially being like, don't talk to my family, or I don't know. It's just been like, okay, so you didn't care then, but you care now. You didn't want to talk about it then, or I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely respect that, of just being like, your perspective of just being like, it happened, but I'm working on other stuff over here.
Right.
Like, I got to keep, and I always like to be like, hey, we need to move forward. What's the alternative? I'm going to lose sleep over this? Like, if this person didn't want to be there 20 years ago, like, I'm going to lose sleep now and cry myself to sleep because I'm just like, nah, it's too much energy. And, like, I forgave him for what he did. Like, when I was 9, I was like, this is a lot to carry. I can't always hold on to this being like, yeah, I was beaten by my dad, so that's why I got adopted. Like, it's just not a good thing to always be, like, reminding myself and reminding others, just like, hey, good to meet you. I was abused when I was 3. Like, that's a weird existence.
Yeah. I definitely had things covering that feeling, but it was always in my head to get answers somehow. You know, I just felt like I'm just doing what I'm doing right now, and eventually I'll get the correct resources and find the right spot to reach out to that person. You know, like I said, I've tried to look for him before. It just really wasn't clicking the way it was supposed to. So I was just like, you know, one day, you know, I wanted it. It was just more like a one-day thing. Like, someday I know I'll get these answers.
Well, I mean, he didn't want to, like, he's like, you went about it the wrong way. There's different ways to go about it. So it's like, if you want his contact information and, like, where he works and stuff, it's like, maybe he'll talk to you, and you just be like, you give your mom's name, you be like, you remember this lady? I'm the son. You were in Palmer when I was born, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to ask you this and this. Like, maybe, like, if there's a different way to do it, maybe you got the answers and I didn't, but it was like, this person just is just this way. Like, that's just how they're built, to just throw the seed around and then be all like, bye. By the way, I'm building my starting 5 over here. Like, you didn't make the cut. I was, because it was weird, like, that Fresh Prince episode. When, like, he freaks out on his dad. He's like, why don't he want me? I was like, I didn't feel like, I was like, why doesn't this guy want me? I just wanted to understand, like, why are there scars on my body? Like, why did we get in this situation that we were a family and then we weren't a family? Or, like, I was a part of your life and you weren't, like, having it. Like, how'd we get here?
I even said that last night too. I was like, I could probably ask him for my dad's information, but I was like, I don't even know if I want to do that, because I just, like I said earlier, I just don't even know what to say. You know, if I walk in the same room, I mean, I don't even know what the first thing I say. Like,
I mean,
that's how, you know what I'm saying? That's how I've just adapted to my life. It's just like, because to be honest, from the time that I can really remember, I feel like I've just never had a dad. Mm-hmm. So, you know, obviously it's like when someone's brought up that way from the very beginning that they can even remember anything, it's just like,
that's your normal?
That's just my normal. You know, and like I said, I grew up around siblings plus all those, you know, friends that became family and stuff that had the same situation. You know, like I call them my cousins and stuff, but you know, they were my friends growing up my entire life. They had a family, 10 kids. You know, none of the dads was there. It was just the mom, which is pretty much just like my mom too. And she, you know, she held it down, and we pretty much just all hung out together all the time. So, you know, my mom is in that situation, and their mom is in that situation, but we're pretty much just like one big family. You know, lots of brothers, lots of sisters, and stuff like that. And we kind of just like bounce around to each other's house. Like all my friends would come over to my house, and my mom would be mom, you know, and then I would go over to their house, and you know, but it's like their mom and dad at the same time.
Right.
You know,
that
like,
strong sense of community.
yeah, exactly. You know, I feel like, my friend's mom was definitely like the dad and the mom at the same time when she had to be. She'd be giving them whoopings.
Yo.
But, you know, obviously not in that way, you know, but.
But you felt like you belonged.
Yeah, of course. Of course, man. It was always a welcoming thing, and it was a lot of older brothers for them, so it was pretty much like older brothers for me, because my best friend, which is, I call him my cousin, we're the same age, we're 2 days apart, 3 days apart, but you know, I pretty much just rode with him and all of his older brothers, so I felt like I just kind of got into that family as well, plus my family, and just having all those older males around and stuff like that, it was just cool. You know, it's almost like that stereotype where it's just like, you know, my mom raised me, I'm good, I'm gonna take care of everything else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about, you know, negative things in the past and stuff like that. To me, I'm just like, don't worry, mom, I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? And that's why the music to me is like my biggest pull, because I just want to take care of my family. You know, I want to take care of everybody. So,
it's getting me like some Big Sean vibes where he's just kind of like, I put the whole family on my back. Is like still waking up like the Rinse do. I'm
yeah.
Like,
no, for real. And, you know, my mom is still working. She's, you know, she's about mid-40s. And no one else really in my family is trying to make like super big moves. You know, I'm not saying that they're not like going towards their goals. I'm just saying I'm trying to be on a bigger level where I can just take care of everybody else while they do their things. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to do like music career, you know, full big and blown music career, and just be able to take care of them and stuff like that. So
definitely,
that was just my main pull and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you got some like chill tracks or something, like after this documentary comes out, it's like I can put some, I don't know, layer in some instrumentals or something.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to use that. Just because it's like, oh, by the way, my brother wrote this.
Yeah, definitely, man. But overall, man, it's just, I don't know, the life and path that I've been on, it's just been more of just like, I'm gonna take care of you, mom. And that's just like my thought in my head. And like I said, I do think about my dad, our dad, but I just have other things that overpower it. Like, I need to take care of my mom. My grandmother, she just got done with open heart surgery 2 days ago. You know, I want her to see me make it, you know, in that big way. I want to be able to take care of her as well when she gets, you know, sicker, God forbid. But, you know, especially when my mom gets older too, she's not going to be able to work. You know, I want to be able to ice over that and be like, yo, everything's going to be okay.
Got you.
So
you're just like, I got you. Don't worry about it. It's like, go to work, but you know, the mortgage is paid for.
Yeah. So you see, when I shed light on that part of my life, you can see that dark part of my life is just like, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just I feel like I have to take care of this definitely, you know, before I go and search for answers that, for one, are always going to be there, and two, it's just like nothing's going to change. It's not like I'm going to go to him right now and be like, yo, what's up? And he's like, okay, I'm going to be your dad to be your life now. Nothing's going to change. You know what I'm saying? So I can always get those answers. I can always reach back and get those answers at some point in time. Like I said, for one, finding the resources and to get a hold of them and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, even after like the momentum from this is still going, it's just like, if you show up on Wednesday, talk to his receptionist at like the same office and be like, and by the way, I'm his biological son too.
She was like, two?
Two? Yeah,
so we all in the
like,
same home?
It's like, you might as well just keep the momentum going. It's like, let's go. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's no, I guess, like, there's no real end game to it to be all like, well, what do you, is there certain, like, answers that you're looking for, or like you just want to meet the guy, or like come out of the woodwork? Like,
more just like, why? That's the only question.
Why didn't you stick around?
Why didn't you stick around? Why don't you, No, I don't know if you don't care, you know what I'm saying, but the bigger question is, why aren't you around?
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only question I have is, why?
I respect that one.
That's it for me. It's just like, because I don't know if I want to say I take it personally, because I don't know if I do. It's like you said, people were, we're kids, they're adults. Obviously, we know that there's adult things going on too, but it's just like more like, why? You don't even care, or what's up?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I was raised on that too, because this guy's been painted as a bad guy, and I kind of felt like he was a bad guy growing up, because it was just like, no, please don't send me home again, like, ever. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to go back into that situation, into that world. And then people would just be like, yeah, he's a bad guy, don't think about it. But then I was like, I can hear that from you, a social worker, or you, a foster parent.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear it from him.
Yeah.
I want to know face to face. It's like, I'm here right now. Like, tell me just straight up, like, what happened. And but it wasn't that defensive. It was just kind of like, I'm here to listen.
Right.
I want to know your side of it, good or bad. Like, you don't need to hold anything back. Like, there's no cops here.
Right.
Like, nothing's gonna happen. Statute of limitations runs out on this stuff, so it's like, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I just want you to be like people come out and they're just like, yeah, so I killed this person. They'll come out like 15 years later and just be like, yeah, like, I was in the wrong. This person died. It was by my hand. And like, people are just like, thank you for your honesty.
Right.
Like, it's no like, okay, retry the case. Like,
right. That's not what we're here to do.
Nothing's gonna happen. Yeah. So it's just like, I think, even if you can bring yourself to this crossroads of like, I just want to hear this person out, like, that still puts you in a peaceful thing. Like, people have been talking to me and they're just like, hopefully this brings you peace. Hopefully this brings you closure. I was like, I don't really need closure.
Right.
Like, I graduated high school, graduated college.
Yeah.
I'm good at customer service and I'm good with people. And it's like, I can move forward in life in general. I don't need closure. Like, I'm not losing sleep over this person. But yeah, just like you, I'm just like, why? What happened?
Yeah.
So it just turns into those like, no, I'm good on, moving through the world. But when it comes to a genesis of like how my life started and where I was from, that's still a lingering kind of hanging out there in the air of just being like, sure wish I knew that one though. Yeah. But here we are, and you just like, pass the potatoes, will you? Like, you try not to think about it, but definitely like with the family and community you have, like, there's, and like with the way that I am with people and family, or I'm just kind of like, I'm way too lucky of a guy to have all these friends and family surrounding me, and just to be all like, but I'm always sad about this one thing. It's like, it gets overshadowed, especially like with a different hustle of being like, I'm into acting and filmmaking, so it's just like, and I feel that same power of like with the music for you, where it's just like, yeah, some bad stuff happened, but I'm over here chasing bigger stuff that's, I don't have time to let that hold me back.
Yeah, I feel it. But yeah, man, it was just like, it was overpowered and stuff like that, but when someone did bring it up or say something about it seriously, it would impact me. And that it would hit me emotionally, especially if they were trying to talk about it like seriously or something like that.
What do you mean? Like, how would it hit you?
Just emotionally, like that why feeling of why I'm here alone, you know what I'm saying? Or why aren't you trying to be involved or anything? Like, you didn't want me, what was it, you know what I'm saying? So like, all those questions and feelings would run through me if someone was like, you have your dad, where's your dad? Or something like, all those feelings would start to like, what is it called, rekindle, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would start to all like be built back up, when usually it's like that flame is really low, you know what I'm saying? But when people start to ask those questions, it's like, it's getting bigger and bigger, and that's when the emotions and stuff start running of like, why? You
ever like do a quick subject change, or you're just like, I don't want to talk about this? Like,
no, I tell them. I just tell them, I don't know. I mean, because they'll ask me a certain question, and I'm just like, I don't know, because I don't know him, I don't know his side of the family, you know, or just depending on what type of question it is that they're asking me. But overall, it's just pretty much like, hey, did you know your dad? And we're, you know, it's just like, it'll be on like a different subject, but like that will have to get thrown in because we'll be talking about something like that. They're like, hey, did you know your dad? I'm like, nah. And they're like, oh, like why? I don't know.
It's one of those things.
It's like, I don't know. And that's how it's always been my whole life. It's just been like that 5-second conversation where just, I don't know. And just move past. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, I'm surrounded with people who are in the same exact situation. So when I'm in that same boat with 15 other people, we can cope. You know, it's easier to cope when you have people, but definitely when you're alone, it's just, you know.
That's why I wanted to tell this story, because it turns into like, it's so commonplace where it's just like, dad ran off. Well,
exactly.
And then it's just like, have you ever tried to like, instead of just being like, to other people, I'd be like, you ever try to like go down that path? Like seriously chase that path. And then it's like, it's usually a dead end of just people just being like, no, it's not worth my time.
Right.
Or like they won't. So that's why I was just like, I'm going to go talk to this guy. Like, I'm not going to make any excuses, and I'm not going to be like, it's just going to be that floating thing where you're just kind of like, it's just, I've never known, and I'm always going to not know. Like, I'm just like, nope, I'm going to wrap this up right now of just being like, because the absentee father gets played out so much of just being like, yeah, he went for a pack of smokes and never saw him again. It was just like, no, I followed him to the store, and I was like, what's up? Like, are we talking or not?
Right.
Just because I think it's an original look, just to be like, I'm gonna chase this thing down to the end. And it's difficult when, especially from you, where it's just like, you never knew him at all. Like,
right.
There was an interaction when you were 13 or 12, but it was just like,
besides that, that's the only memory.
Right. But I was like sentient while it was happening, of just being like, oh, I just got abused by this guy. Oh, this guy's going to jail. Oh, I'm going into a new home. Like, I remember my last name. I remember his last name. I still know this stuff. But like, if somebody started off from ground zero, there's like, I think he's in Anchorage. I think he was around me.
Right.
I think his name might have been Michael. But you know what I mean? Like, it's less stuff to start off on. But me, I was just like, I have I have the knowledge, but do I really want to chase it down? But then it was also like, is it fair for him not to have to talk about it?
That's true.
Is it fair for him just to be all like, well, I'm pretty happy with the life I've built now. I was in charge.
And they're not trying to contact me or anything. Right. I'm scot-free.
Exactly. I'm just like, well, I get you're scot-free, but just tell us why real quick. Just tell us what was going through your head. And it was weird because he was like, if you know anything about me, you know you better come correct. And I was just like, why can't you come at me correct? Like, why can't you just tell me straight up, like, here's what happened, here's how it played out.
Very defensive stand.
Defensive. Yeah. And I can play you the audio too, like, once I get everything consolidated.
Right,
but it's just like, he was just very like, next question, got defensive. And he was just like, wanted to move on and like not answer certain things about like, I was very angry, hold a lot of resentment, can't change nothing about it. It is what it is.
It just blows my mind that, have you even heard about, like, did anyone ever tell you, like, oh, he might have been with another lady when he was talking to your mom or anything else like that?
Yeah, so I think it's a pattern of behavior, because with my mom, like, he was married and he was like, do you want to come up to Alaska and I'm in the military and be like the mother of my children? So it was like, okay, she married him, boom, they're together. But then it started being like, okay, I got something. This is like the side piece before side pieces were real, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
So it was like he was with my mom, and then there was somebody named Renee. And so it was like he was with my mom, but then there was always like this girlfriend on the side of just being like Renee. And it seemed like maybe that's the parent of our sisters. And so it was like,
that's what I'm thinking.
Renee was that one. But once it was locked down with Renee, then it was like, maybe he was hanging out with your mom.
Right, that's what I think too.
And then, okay, there's a baby on the way. It's like, okay, that doesn't concern me because I'm jumping over to.
So it's like all these situations. He has like 4 different situations going on. It's just so crazy. Like, they never collided.
No.
At all. They've been separate this entire time. It's like, how can all these situations be happening with one person?
Right.
With this, woman, and how smart, females are and stuff like that. It's like, you're never going to be like, yo, you got so many kids, or, I know about this other person or anything, But like, I mean, I guess you could say that because like my mom said, I guess she was manipulated and lied to. So,
and I think there were a lot of whispers where it was like the last girl knew whispers about the last girl, but she didn't know the full story. And then before that, the last girl kind of knew he had something on, but he didn't know.
And that's how my mom made it sound too, because she was like, because she said that they were really together for less than a year. So it's like, oh, you know, at that time he was bringing around either Micah or Michaela, I'm not sure which one. Because she only recalls just one. So he was bringing her around, and you know, he was telling my mom like, you know, we're divorced, we're just co-parenting, and she was like, okay. So that's how that went, and then she got pregnant with me, and it was more like, I feel like it was like oh shit, you know. And then obviously the jail stuff came up, and then after that it was just like, I'm gonna bury that past.
It just seems exhausting, or it's just like, God, you trying to spin these plates and you trying to juggle all this?
I got one woman, and that is just
like, right?
I can't. You know,
like,
she'll kill me. She will kill me.
Where were you? Where was you at? It was like, golly, here we go.
She'd be like, who that I heard in the background? Like, she, you know, she's on me, but that, you know, that's okay, because that's my woman, and you know, that's who I want in my life for sure.
Definitely.
But you know, it's just, I can only do one. Yeah.
This card's full.
What, this card's full?
This card's full and that card's full.
For sure.
Yeah. So I mean,
I think we talked a lot of this.
We got a lot of ground, man.
We got a lot of ground covered. I like this.
Yeah.
more ground to cover too.
For sure. So where do you live? Where do you reside? You don't live in Anchorage?
No, I'm up Oregon. And I was in Washington for a year, but like States is, my family's down, like extended families down there.
Right.
Immediate families in Fairbanks, but nobody wants to go to Fairbanks in the winter. So it's like, I'm not trying to negative 40. I'm like, I'm good.
I'll see y'all in the summer.
I'm like, hey, June, July, what do y'all doing?
Yeah, exactly. I'll see y'all around those months.
But then chasing this story, then it's just been like, okay, like even right now, everybody's like, you coming up to Fairbanks? I'm just like, I got too much momentum down here to be all like, I got a brother now, like I got sisters that are maybe in the area, but then that are being controlled by like this guy who just being like, he wants to stay in like this little bubble of stay away from my family, and it's just like, so you want a family now, you weren't interested in keeping a family unit together then, or like trying to like reconcile any of this.
So when you talked to him, did you like ask him if he had like any other kids, or did you like ask him if he knew about like you didn't ask him about me, right?
I didn't know about you.
Right, exactly. I was about to say, I don't think you knew about me at the time of the conversation. I was like curious on it.
So I was like, I was like, so you got at the Safeway thing when he was still a little bit receptive to talking.
Right.
I was like, okay, so you got kids? He's like, I was like, are they all local? He's like, yeah, my kids stay with me. I was like, wow, okay. Are you gonna tell them about me? He's like, you want to meet them? And I was like, yeah, they're my siblings, right? He's like, phew, I probably have to ease him into that one because, you know, and it seemed like he was worried about the worlds colliding of just being like
all the secrets. He didn't want the secrets to come out.
And then maybe that's why he called me on when I called him on Saturday morning. That maybe that's why he was just kind of like, you know what,
back off.
Yeah, it seems like you had an ulterior motive and kind of made up excuse just to chop it off because he didn't want those worlds to collide, and he didn't want these secrets to come out of just being like, so were you messing around then, or are you messing around now? Are you messing around with this mom, or are you messing around with my mom? Like,
exactly.
Just those things. What ground are you trying to cover, Ben?
All sorts of grounds,
dirts.
Just anywhere there's ground, really.
Just ground in general.
Yeah, I also don't know what that question is.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't know. We got really good stuff. It's really cool to meet you, man. Like,
Yeah,
Mike
you
was
too.
in my wedding. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to find his fam.
Yeah, it's dope. So I mean, besides it, you know, I'm just curious on like what, with you going down this path, what has it done for you? Did it like? It just shed that light on that part that you just didn't know about?
Yeah, so
really?
it just pieces everything together. Like, the project's called Filling Time.
Right.
Just because it's like there's, especially when people start losing their memory later, they're just like, there's some time missing of like, I don't know what I did this morning, and then now I'm sitting here at this table eating dinner. It's like, so I just
wanted to get this time.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta fill this in of like what's going on, because going through foster care, I don't know if you're familiar with Facing Foster Care in Alaska. It's an advocacy group that Rachel and I are in,
right.
And it's just like, we talk about the hurt. We talk about our experiences, and then there's always these questions about like, how many placements were you in? How many foster homes did you move to? How many times did you switch schools?
Right.
And during those sessions, like, it was always like I would with confidence be able to make stuff up. I was in 14 different placements. I switched schools 5 different times. And, you know, I had 3 people that I called mom and dad. Like, I could make anything up because I truly didn't know about it. Like, I didn't know on paper, like, how many placements there were, where I was, why I was there, why this one didn't work out and this one did. So I was like, I don't want to make up the story anymore. I just wanted to be on paper of, like, if somebody wants to, it's like writing a book, and it's like, if you want to know all the facts, here's a book. Here it is. Here's a film that shows, like, hey, not only is like, Dad, did you ever talk to your people? Like, the people is like, not only did I talk to them, I met them. Boom, here it is. And I feel like that can help people because it's never too late to tell your story. It's never too late to rebuild, like, those pieces of your mind to be like, I'm tired of wondering what if. I want to talk to this person. And if your mom told you something about your dad, our dad, then it'd be like, okay, I get that, and I love you, Mom, but I'd like to hear it from him. Right. Why can't he be here to tell me the exact same thing? And not necessarily put it at peace, but just be like, I heard it from the horse's mouth. Like, this is what it is. Okay, got it. It's like, it's because my forehead's too big. Okay, forehead's too big. So golly, all right. It is what it is. I guess we'll call it a day. And you get those answers, but like, reading it in a report just isn't enough, or hearing it from another parent isn't enough. Like, I wanted to know. So like, starting this project just gave me a lot of clarity on, and I really wanted to be empathetic on, if given the same circumstances, would I react the same way? I mean, he was 27 when he was going to court for me about like assault charges and stuff. So it's like, at 27 years old, if I was just discharged from the military and I had a wife and I was messing around on her and I didn't want those two worlds to interact with each other, it's like, would I have responded a certain way? Would I have panicked? Would I have gotten myself in deeper in with these situations? Like, when would I have hit the panic button, just been like, nope, can't do it anymore. I'm done. Like, 3 women is enough, or 4 women. Like, how, like, what were they going through? And not only what were they going through, but like, what was their mindset going through? It was because I'm seeing photocopies of like documents that say, I relinquish all rights to Michael. I know that I can't contact him anymore for the remainder of his life, at least until he's 18 or something. And then it's like, see the signature at the bottom. What goes through a father's mind when in that moment? And then what would I do if the same piece of paper was pushed in front of me? It was like, it's time. Like, would I panic? Would I just be like, man, this sucks? Or like, would I fight for it and be all like, I'm not signing this? Why? Because it's like, once I get out of jail, I'm going to try to get my son back, and I don't want him to be adopted, and I still have rights as a parent, and I'm going to like claw because I want this child to know that like I never gave up. For sure. But I'm like, tell me that to my face. Like, how do you feel? We're both adults now. It's like, I just want to know each other's mindset.
Be civil, be truthful, right. And be a man. I don't know. I mean, that's just, my grandmother always taught me, tell it how it is. You know, obviously, if you're lying about something, it's, you know, she's always taught me, if you obviously get caught up or something like that, just tell the truth. You know, there's nothing else to do.
What's the alternative? It's just like, you're just gonna keep running. Like, it gets tired.
Yeah. Just on into your life. I mean, what's the big mistake about it? You know, because that's how I feel like it makes me, you know, well, to me personally, that's how it makes me feel. Like, what, was I a mistake? So you ran away? Like, you know? Because even if that was to happen today, I wouldn't be able to do that to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's just from experiencing everything that I've experienced and going through what I do. It's like, I couldn't do that to somebody else. Like, that's just crazy. It's too crazy.
Definitely. It's a weird feeling just to be like, this is somebody's normal, just hopping around, very temporary.
You know, I mean, from the conversations that, you know, you're telling me that you guys had, it's just like, in a way, it's like I feel more logical than that. I feel more logic than you. You know, not you personally, but if I was in front of it, it's like, I feel like I got more logic than you. You can't even talk. You can't talk as a human being and as an adult and as a grown man. you're trying to hide secrets that was happening years ago. Like, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like we're here. You know what I'm saying? We're men. Talk about it. Why are you trying to hide? Like, we're the cops or we're your side. Lady asking you some questions about your past.
But
What's up, bro?
And that's why I try to put it into it, because it just perpetuates the entire cycle of, it's like, absentee father, don't want to talk about it. Not involved in the picture. Never going to be involved in the picture. I was like, just stop it. And then you can stop the cycle, like, right here. And it doesn't have to happen again. And whether that's because of the male dynamic in it, or you're just kind of like, well, I'm worried about my daughters, but I'm not worried about my sons. Like, okay, then you're more protective as a father because you care about your daughters, or but at least tell that to me,
of course,
or us.
Like, for sure.